Well, hello! Did I get a film crew to pan around? No, I'm using this new little webcam called the OBSBOT Mini 4K. It's a 4K webcam with a 2-axis gimbal, and it's got AI that can track you. So if I move around like this, it will do stuff. It's even got gesture control as well. So if I say, give me a close-up, it will do so, and I can say, go out again. And there's another gesture you can do, which is to hold your hand up like this, and that means don't track me anymore. So if I suddenly move out of frame, nothing happens, and you can turn it back on by doing that, and it's back to following me around the room. Let's have a little bit more of a view of the OBSBOT and exactly what you get in the box and how it comes. So here's how it comes. Here's the box. Let's get a quick unboxing going. In that main box is this other little box which says OBSBOT on it. And inside here you have some basic instructions in this manual, along with sort of gesture controls, little quick cheat sheets really, and a user manual. Then you've got this nice little bag that it comes in, and inside here is the OBSBOT itself. Now obviously I've taken this out before. It did have a protective lens covering. And you can see there's a 2-axis gimbal, goes that way and that way. You've got at the back here a USB-C, a DC 5V in, and it's got this tripod mount here, but that's not the only thing. And I should explain, the reason you've got two inputs here is if you've got basically a fairly modern computer with a USB 3, they will generally supply 5 volts at 1 amp, and you can just plug it in via USB-C. If you've got an older computer and you can't draw that much power from it, then you'll need to plug in the adapter and run it that way. This is the really cool bit. This is a magnetic adapter, and what you can do with this is basically this bit goes over the top of your monitor, and then you can use that bit, depending how thick your monitor is, to lean it up against there, and then that sort of sits on it like that. I'll show you how that looks later. Also in the box, these 3 bags. Let's take the contents out quickly, and this is what you get. If you need to use the power, that's the power adapter for it, and that's powered by USB. So if your computer can't do it, you'll need a wall adapter to plug it in that way. This is a basic USB-C to USB-C cable, and if your computer doesn't have USB-C on that end, it comes with this little adapter which is USB-C to USB, I'm going to say USB-A, basically your normal USB, I will call that. Anyway, that's all you get in there. Just before we connect it to my computer, this is it connected to a little tripod. This is just a GorillaPod. I wouldn't actually use this, but just in case you're on a laptop or something and you wanted to put it somewhere else, you could put it on a tripod as long as you've got enough cable to connect it, and this cable's fairly long. But let's connect it to my computer using this, and I'll show you how we do that, and I'll also show you my normal setup with this camera I'm filming with now. Okay, here's my computer. What I've done, I've made this little shape, and this is, it goes over my monitor, and then this little bit sort of makes a sort of tight fit on there so it doesn't move around. Then I can take a little OBSBOT, pop it on top. My tip here is to have the OBSBOT logo at the front, because that's where the front of the camera is, and we can just plug it in via USB. Now you see, now I've got that installed on my computer. I'm just going to go to the software and say resume, and up comes the OBSBOT looking at me holding a phone above my face. Hello again. This is my normal setup. This is a mirrorless camera up there filming at me, and that's the OBSBOT just above there, and just here is my actual regular web camera. Now I use this as a way of comparison, but one thing I do on this camera is I have lighting. So at the moment the ISO is on auto. What I would normally do is put a load of lighting on my face and try and really light the area so I can drop the ISO rating and get a better looking picture. I will compare both. So right now, using natural light, I've got an artificial light there, I've got the windows open there, but this is from my Canon, which is my mirrorless camera. This is from the little OBSBOT, and this is a screen capture of it. So I'm going to stick in the desktop for a while, because what you get with the camera is you get some software to download and you can control everything through it. And you see we've got a bunch of controls here. We've got a zoom. If I zoom all the way out, you see it's quite wide. You can see things like the printer and more quads and stuff. This is a digital zoom, not an optical zoom, so you obviously lose a bit of quality when you zoom in, and you can go in. Oh, that's far too close. Let's get. No, nobody needs to see that. Let's come back out. You've got individual controls here. You can move the gimbal all around as you want to. If you reset, it goes back to basically the start position, and you can see bits of my camera there. And then what I did, you notice these bits down the bottom here. I've got desk close-up, face pick, and add. Basically, you can get a pre-designed position. So, for example, if I said I want to look at my printer for some bizarre reason, let's have a close-up on the printer. And where are we? There, about there-ish, down a touch, and I can say add, and I can call that printer. So I could then reset back to normal, and if I then wanted to look at the printer, I could say, hey, let me show you what the printer's up to. In the same way, I made one called face pick because I figure I'd always be in the middle of the screen, and this sort of zooms in a bit. And then if I wanted to show people what's going on the desk, I got one called desk close up, so that will come in a film and I can show you what's going on right down here. We've got a couple of batteries, some vague wire and stuff like that, but you get the idea. What we also get is more camera controls here. So you can turn the gestures on and off, and you can say what the zoom factor is, and it will show you how much that is zooming in, and that's at kind of 2 times, which is plenty. Let's go at that. You've got different types of tracking mode. This is standard mode. You've got one called headroom mode, and the idea for that is someone who is perhaps doing like a presentation where they're showing things in front of them. This is like old school presentation, I guess. You've got a board to show. What it will do is create more amount of room on the head. So instead of just sort of focusing on your head and letting it fill the screen, it will try and create more room there. The other one you've got is motion mode. That is when you're moving around a lot. It will try and keep up with you, essentially. Screen modes, you can go between landscape and portrait. You can set the initial position. There is a noise reduction thing. Let's try turning that off, see what happens. Not a great deal. And then you've got hotkeys for this if you want to turn these on, so you can do like alt combinations to do certain things with. You've also got quite a lot of camera settings here. You see at the moment I've got HDR on. This is high dynamic range, so it should be giving me a natural colour. If I turn that off, it's kind of a bit darker. It doesn't have the range for it, so I'm going to turn it back up. You can do the focus on auto, which kind of makes sense, but you can change it to manual if you want to, and go in and out of focus as you like. You can change the focus between global and face. Obviously, if you're doing a webcam, it makes sense doing face. Most of these other things I've got set to auto, but I'm going to have a quick go at some lighting in a second and see what happens. Exposure's auto at the moment, but basically you can change the shutter speed and the ISO rating. So if I whop the ISO down, shutter speed up, you can change it basically as you want, or you can set it to regular. Anti-flicker, if you've got lights going on, depending on your power, is 50 or 60 Hertz. We got the white balance and color temperature all on auto, and this image stuff on auto, which you can play around with to enhance content. You've got this sort of easy way of changing your exposure there, and then the rest are pretty self-explanatory, changing bits and pieces as you need them to. There was firmware to update. This one came with a slightly lower version of firmware, so to get 4K you need to run it. On this Mac at the moment, this window you see here is a 4K window. It's a 5K screen. This is QuickTime I'm using, and if I said record, it would only record in 1080p, which is a Mac thing rather than anything else. So with me capturing the whole screen, you're seeing a sort of 4K image inside a 5K screen, essentially.
which I can always say make bigger if I want to. But obviously your regular thing would be on like a web call on Skype or Zoom or whatever like that. Now, one thing I would do with my regular camera up there is have some lighting set, because I noticed it's kind of webcammy in the fact that I can see like I'm a little bit grainy here because there's not much light coming in. There's an overhead light, there's a bit of natural light, it's a bit grey outside, which is sort of blowing out this side a bit. But normally I have two lights coming down on me, and I want to see the difference between the Canon and the OBSBOT here. You also notice that I'm using this mic, so let's have a quick comparison. This is my blue, what's it called, orb mic or something, I can't remember, which is fairly good, and I use it often for podcasts. I don't tend to use the internal mic for my webcam because it's not as good, but the OBSBOT has its own mic. I'm going to guess it's not as good as this, but let's change over and see what we get. Okay, this is me using the OBSBOT internal microphone, which I looked at before, and it's obviously not as good as a proper mic, and it depends how far you have it away. But you've got the option there if you want it. For me, I'm going to carry on using this one for recording, I think. Okay, this is my normal setup in the camera. What I've got here, I will film this to help. I've got my mirrorless cameras here, and I've got these two lights pointing at me getting lots of light. The reason for that is I can change the ISO to something lower, I can move the aperture of the camera down. The idea is to give my face some focus and a bit behind some blurring. Now I haven't got aperture control over here on OBSBOT, but I have got more light here, and I can see I'm definitely sort of less grainy. If it's picking up the kind of yellowness a little bit there, I do notice. At the moment this is in auto exposure mode. I can change that and see what I can get. I've got the ISO on 100. I can, yeah, ISO 100 is quite nice. Whoop. Down to 200. And that's a little bit dark. Something like that. And then what I can do is go the other way. We can kind of mess with it a little bit, we hope. Saturation up, down. Not bad. How's that compared to auto? Auto takes a little while to sort itself out. It's like, oh, what are we doing? I wonder if I just take these away. Is that going to look too harsh? That's slightly more natural, but a little bit blown out. Anyway, I'm just experimenting with what I can do with lighting, and certainly lighting my face equals looking a lot more natural colour. We don't see any sort of grain in that, which is nice. So I can certainly get behind that. And if I zoom in a bit, apologies everybody. Yeah, even the digital zoom at this point looks pretty good. So possibilities there. So from my point of view, I'm thinking, yeah, this is a great camera to do web stuff with, but sometimes I just want to film something quickly. I want to do a piece to camera. I want to say, look, I've got this thing in front of me, or change between them, and I don't want to have the faff of setting everything up. So I'm also looking for something that will be easy to do that with, and I think this little OBSBOT is a way forward for me there. Two other quick things to mention that I've neglected, because although this is tracking me at the moment, and I've talked about like the hand gestures you can do, you can also just tap on this, tap unlock. It now doesn't do anything. If I tap back on lock, it tracks me. Here I am. There you go. The other thing is privacy. I know a lot of people even have like little sort of bits of tape over their webcam. What do you do when this isn't active? How do you make sure it's off? And the answer to that is I'll have to film this again. There it is, and it's pointing at me at the moment. And down here on the controls, if I say sleep, it does that. It goes to sleep, turns off, and we've got nothing on the screen. And then we can just click on resume, and it's back into life again, shooting and trying to work out its autofocus by the looks of it. There we are. That's better. So to me, this I hope I'm going to get to use in regular filming, because aside from the fact I just want to do things quickly, sometimes I want to say, hey, just up here on my printer, or over here on my Bixler, or even say stuff like, look, there's a light here. You know, bits like that, which I think are really handy. And I've already used this in a podcast which went out live on YouTube. And we used StreamYard, which meant we only got to do 720p, but here's a quick clip from it. So I won't play the audio for this because it's a bit random, but this is Let's Drone Out. It's a show I'm part of with some friends. We have a light-hearted discussion about drones and RC and sometimes guests. Check us out on Thursday at 8 PM UK time if you want to. So there you go, that's the OBSBOT 4K Mini, and I've tried to do as much filming, including this, using the camera itself. So, any little niggles? Aside from like the Mac OS thing about not recording in 4K, which is a Mac thing, I'm sure if you've got a Windows PC you're fine. I've noticed that this mic, the Blue Snowball, to give it its proper name, tends to record a little bit behind what the camera records at. So I've noticed on my videos, I have to move the audio 9 frames over and then it syncs up perfectly. I don't know if that's like a USB thing or an OBSBOT thing or a Blue Snowball thing, but that's one of the things I mentioned. The other thing obvious to point out is this is quite a premium product. It's got a 2-axis gimbal in, it's pretty high quality camera, it's not what you call a cheap item. On the plus side though, OBSBOT's having a promotion for the Prime full day deals. So its regular UK price is £269. During the 10th to the 16th of October on Amazon, you can get it for £215, which is a 20% saving. So if this is the right sort of camera for you, don't forget to check them out then. Of course, there'll be links down the bottom for where you can look at that. Anyway, I'll be using this on a hopefully daily basis to do little bits and pieces to camera and perhaps desk close-ups and things, as well as doing my podcasting or video calls and stuff like that. So if this is something for you, you want something in 4K, you want to be able to move around and have the thing track you around and stuff like that, then please check them out. And many thanks for OBSBOT for sending this over for review. Hope that's been helpful, and I will catch you next one. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.